Art is never finished, only abandoned. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Study the science of art. Study the art of science. Develop your senses, especially learn how to see, realize that everything connects to everything else. I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. Time stays long enough for anyone who will use it. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. In painting, you must give the idea of the true by means of the false. Water is the driving force of all nature. Art is the queen of all sciences, communicating knowledge to all the generations of the world. I love those who can smile in trouble. Iron rusts from disuse, stagnant water loses its purity, and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigor of the mind. As a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so a life well used brings happy death. Patience serves as a protection against wrongs as clothes do against cold, for if you put on more clothes as the cold increases, it will have no power to hurt you. So in like manner you must grow in patience when you meet with great wrongs, and they will be powerless to vex your mind. He who is fixed to a star does not change his mind. The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. Experience does not err, only your judgments err, by expecting from her what is not in her power. Life is pretty simple. You do some stuff, most fails. Some works, you do more of what works. If it works big, others quickly copy it. Then you do something else. The trick is to doing something else. I have offended God and mankind because my work didn't reach the quality it should have. Art is the daughter of freedom. The human foot is a masterpiece of engineering and a work of art. I have been many times driven to my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. All our knowledge has its origins in our perceptions. The painter who is familiar with the nature of the sinews, muscles, and tendons will know very well, in giving movement to a limb, how many and which sinews cause it, and which muscle, by swelling, causes the contraction of that sinew. There are three classes of people: those who see when they are shown, those who do not see. Just as iron rusts from disuse and stagnant water putrefies, or when cold turns to ice, so our intellect wastes unless it is kept in use. Learning never exhausts the mind. He who loves practice without theory is like the sailor who boards a ship without a rudder and compass, and never knows where he may cast. He who thinks little errs much. Where there is shouting, there is no true knowledge. Nothing strengthens authority so much as silence. Nature never breaks her own laws. There is no greater harm than that of time wasted. I have from an early age abjured the use of meat, and the time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look upon the murder of men. A well-spent day brings happy sleep. As every divided kingdom falls, so every mind divided between many studies confounds and saps itself. Beyond a doubt truth bears the same relation to falsehood as light to darkness. Blinding ignorance does mislead us, O wretched mortals, open your eyes. I wish to work miracles. Life well spent is long. Men of lofty genius, when they are doing the least work, are most active. Nature is the source of all true knowledge. She has her own logic, her own laws. She has no effect without cause nor invention, without necessity. Our life is made by the death of others. Painting is poetry that is seen rather than felt, and poetry is painting that is felt rather than seen. Science is the captain and practice the soldiers. Small rooms or dwellings discipline the mind, large ones weaken it. The deeper the feeling, the greater the pain. The knowledge of all things is possible. The painter has the universe in his mind and hands. The poet ranks far below the painter in the representation of visible things and far below the musician in that of invisible things. The truth of things is the chief nutriment of superior intellects. There are three things that renew oneself: water, green trees, and a beautiful face. There are two types of people who will tell you that you cannot make a difference in this world: those who are afraid to try and those who are afraid you will succeed. Time abides long enough for those who make use of it. To develop a complete mind, study the science of art, study the art of science, learn how to see, realize that everything connects to everything else. To lie is so vile that even if it were in speaking well of someone, it would take off something from the splendor of that great character. The smallest feline is a masterpiece. The spirit desires to remain with its body because, without the organic instruments of that body, it can neither act nor feel anything. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The supreme misfortune is when theory outstrips performance. The water you touch in a river is the last of that which has passed, and the first of that which is coming. Thus it is with time present. The worst of all sins is to turn one's back on the light, and not look at it or to think that it does not exist. Things of the mind left untested by the senses are useless. Time stays long enough for those who use it. What is fair in men passes away, but not so in art. Why does the eye see a thing more clearly in dreams than the imagination when awake? You can have no dominion, greater or less than that over yourself. In rivers, the water that you touch is the last of what has passed and the first of that which comes. So with present time. I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink. But they whose heart is firm and whose conscience approves their conduct will pursue their principles unto death. It is easier to resist at the beginning than at the end. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. Realize that everything connects to everything else. Study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in.